Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This right here is the Farzy Show. Excuse me. Presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. So much to get into today. Some great stuff and some heartbreaking stuff. To me, because I grew up watching him, I was a little on the young side for Pete Rose. But Dikembe Mutombo, man, that one hit me yesterday. I had the chance to. Well, first off, experiencing him come to the Sixers when I was a senior in high school. Like that, I've told you guys many times that 2001 76ers run was the biggest party. That was a party, everybody's house, everyone had a party, every game. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And being a basketball fan in general, forget the party, but just everyone being a basketball fan at that time. It was like the 93 Phils, the 2001 76ers. Those were the greatest things. I was a little kid for 93, senior in high school for 2001, and those two teams just absolutely like hugged the city of Philadelphia. And going through that as a youth was incredible. Getting to meet, I met Dikembe Mutombo one time. And he was awesome. He was just such an awesome guy. And hearing all the tributes come out yesterday, hearing Joel Embiid talk about him yesterday, a skinny Joel Embiid, by the way, hearing him talk about Dikembe Mutombo, what he meant to all Africans. That's what Joel Embiid said for all us Africans, what he means to us. Hearing just the tributes pour out, man, that did hit me. 58 years old, brain cancer. And when I did meet him, he was just so happy to be in Philadelphia, so happy to be around people. And he was doing something with the Sixers that night, and they just told me, "Hey, Dikembe Mutombo's in the Wells Fargo Center. Do you want to go interview?" And I'm like, "What? Yeah." So I run down the hall and have a cameraman grab a mic and get to talk to Dikembe Mutombo. And he, of course, I said, what do you think about the people that might be doubting the Sixers this year?" And he just gives me the finger wag, like, "Don't you doubt the Sixers." You know what I mean? It just, he knew what people wanted. They wanted his big, giant smile, and they wanted the finger wag. And nobody has done it like Dikembe Mutombo. And I remember watching his career in 1994, I think it was, with Denver beating the Seattle Supersonics. And I'll never forget him just going to the floor, ball in his hands. And, of course, this was on every single tribute video because it's such an iconic moment. And he just goes to the floor and he's holding the ball and he's got this big smile on his face like he can't believe it. It's such an incredible moment. And just watching his entire career was wild. And I'll never forget. I loved Theo Ratliff. Oh, man, did I love Theo Ratliff. I mean, how do you not love Theo Ratliff? And then he gets traded with my man Pepe Sanchez from Temple University. And they go to and Nazi Muhammad, I believe was in that. Yeah, Nazi Muhammad. And they get dealt to the Hawks. And Dikembe Mutombo comes to Philadelphia. And that's the way that went down, man. And then, yeah, unfortunately, the finals didn't go the way we wanted it to, but, man, he was a lot of fun to watch. Defensive Player of the Year. That was the year the Sixers had the sweep. Coach of the Year, MVP, Sixth Man of the Year, Aaron McKee, and Dikembe Mutombo, Defensive Player of the Year. And, of course, MVP, some guy named Allen. I don't know. But that one hit me yesterday. Pete Rose passing away yesterday. Baseball's all-time hit king. Exactly. Tim, was it? Mike Sealski's got a great story about it at Inquirer.com today if you want to check that out. But look, to focus on the baseball part of it, that's what you want in a baseball player. I mean, without question. Charlie Hustle, one of the most appropriate nicknames ever, if not the most appropriate nickname ever. Concrete Charlie's pretty good. You know what I mean? I don't know, something about the Charlie nicknames. But when I was thinking about it yesterday, because I heard Tim Kirchin just talk about how that was the most appropriate thing you could call him. And I'm like, yeah, he's pretty much nailed that. Shout out to Tim Kirchin for that one. And then also listening and watching some tributes on him yesterday. That's what we ask every single player that comes into Philadelphia. The famous quote from Sean Bradley is Sean Bradley, the former Sixer, that the problem in Philadelphia is they expect you to play every game like it's game 7. And it's like, yeah. And like, sorry. Oh, don't put your best foot forward. Oh, okay, fine. All right. No, just mail it in today. And Chase Utley certainly played that way. Pete Rose certainly played that way. George Brett certainly played that way. Not that he was a Philadelphia athlete, but just the guys that were going out there and doing everything they could possibly do to win a game at all times. It's one of those things that is just unfortunately a few and far between thing. And if you don't know the story with Pete Rose, is that he drew a walk, and he kind of trotted down the first baseline. And his father called it. This is when he was a kid, and his father pulled him aside and he said, you represent the family when you get on that field. And you got Rose in the back of your jersey. Every time you get to first base, or you go to first base, you bust it down that line. And Charles was like, yes, sir. Charlie Hustle was like, yes, sir. And that's what he did. That's why every time he drew a walk, he busted it down the first base line, just like that. As far as I'd rather focus on the ball player, but I also know that there's always this kind of storm cloud over the Pete Rose story, which is whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame. And this doesn't change my stance on whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame or not. I do not think that he should be in the Hall of Fame. He made a sucker out of me and a lot of other people for 14 years between 1989, 1990, saying he never bet on baseball, and they banned him from baseball. Commissioner Giamatti banned him from baseball. And then 2004, he comes out with the book. Yeah, I bet on baseball. Comes out with the interview. He admits that he bet on baseball. I was like, sorry, I just took it up for him throughout my entire youth. Made a sucker out of me and a lot of other people. But the bottom line is, I don't trust that he never bet on the Reds. I don't trust that he never bet on his team to lose. I don't trust that he wouldn't manipulate a game to lose the game, because the guy loved to gamble. People are like, well, you said never bet. I don't trust him. I don't trust anything he said. I don't trust him at all. And I don't want to speak ill of a man that just passed away, but it doesn't change my stance on anything. Admire the hell out of the guy's reputation and his legacy in the game of baseball as a player. But after that, it doesn't change my opinion one way or another on him. It stays the same. I could say that and also say that I wish every ball player that played the game played with his intensity. And, by the way, his skill. Over 4,000 hits. Good Lord. Yeah, I would say World Series MVP, regular season MVP. I'd say, he's a pretty good ball player. And just in general, and I know this gets brought up a lot, not with just Pete Rose, but it gets brought up. I think football, we've talked about this a lot with players being suspended for gambling, and Isaiah Rodgers, for instance, right? The number one foe of sports, and I know they take the money. They take the money when it comes to all the betting you could do on games now, and legal sports betting and decriminalized sports betting, whatever, all that. They take the money, and rightfully so. But the biggest threat to them is not anything that could really happen off the field, with whether it's all the awful things that could take place. Don't need to go into detail there. The biggest threat is that people feel like they're watching a game that is not legitimate. And if players are betting, that is in the game itself. What can affect the game directly is players having a bet on a game, directly being able to impact that game, and then fans going, I'm sorry, wait, what I'm watching isn't legitimate? These guys could, interesting. These guys could just bet on the game and influence that way. That's the worst fear of any commissioner in any of the major sports. Any sport, really. That what they're doing isn't legitimate. And gambling is the threat to that. It's the biggest threat to that. It's really the only threat to that. The only other threat to that is whether or not there's replacement referees. Hold on a second. These guys are the guys that are in charge? What are we doing here? And people still watch that. But if people are watching who they view as millionaires become bigger millionaires because they're betting on a game that they might be betting on as well, and it could cost them money. Yeah, that's the biggest threat. That's why every single sports outlet, that's why every single league drops the hammer on anyone that is betting. And I was also surprised that they let Isaiah Rodgers in as early as they did. I know it was, a year? Ugh. That's the biggest foe to these leagues, is that players start betting, coaches bet, managers bet, whoever it might be, and then all of a sudden they're influencing the outcome of the games that they're playing in. So I know that's always something that's going to get brought up around the Pete Rose story. I understand why baseball did what it did. I wish he would have been honest from the get-go. I think it would have saved everybody a lot of trouble, and he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame. But when you look around the other sports, whether it's the Isaiah Rodgers situation or whatever else it might be, sports have to come down hard on players in the game betting on the game. That's something that they have to do. Otherwise, what they're doing could be quickly viewed as illegitimate. And that's something that threatens the popularity of sport. I saw Pete Rose's son play in Reading when he was with the Reading Fighting Phils. This is Reading Phillies back then. That was cool watching him play. And yeah, it reminded you a lot of his dad just in terms of mannerisms on the field and stuff like that. Just from, again, I was young for Pete Rose, so I've only known Pete Rose through highlights and watching games on YouTube or whatever the case might be. But definitely a lot of Pete Rose Sr. in that. And I do remember Pete Rose Jr. I think it was the Reds. He got called up by the Reds when he was in the Reds organization. And I do remember Pete Rose being in the stands for that. So he could still go to a game at least. But wanted to make sure I definitely touched on two men, icons in the sports world that passed away. Especially Dikembe Mutombo, because I actually got to watch him play and really enjoyed the hell out of his career, albeit brief, in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Eagles. I watched Nick Sirianni address the media yesterday for another 20-plus minute. One thing I got to say about Nick Sirianni, and this isn't selfish, like, oh, I got to sit through a 20-minute press conference, whatever. No, it's not that. It's, dude, you talk too much. You talk way too much. For a guy that is trying to keep things close to the vest, why are you going on and on and on and on and on? And I'm going to play one of the things for you, and you guys can tell me. He literally lists almost every way you could turn a football over. He's getting asked a direct question about Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts turning the football over at an alarming rate. It is uncanny. It is I remember Michael Vick in his second, after the MVP season, Michael Vick put the precious pigskin in peril, I think more than anybody in the NFL over a season stretch. And it was alarming, absolutely alarming. And yeah, you could go through it and be like, okay, that was a bad snap. Oh, he put the ball on the ground, but he recovered it. He didn't lose the fumble, so it's not a turnover, but he fumbled it, but didn't lose it. Bad interception, sail to throw, bad read, whatever it might have been. And I'm watching Jalen Hurts this year, and I'm thinking a lot of the same things. It is horrifying what you're watching from Jalen Hurts. And the horrifying thing about it is that you had a full offseason and be like, all right, you know what? Last year was a fluke. He's coming in this year. Yeah, he's settled. He's going to be good. He's got a better offensive coordinator. It'll be good to go. And no, it's the same. It's the same. It's terrible. And you can make every excuse, or you can try to define or break down every single interception or every single fumble. Be like, oh, see, that wasn't his fault. This wasn't his fault. That wasn't his fault. Yeah, you're still talking about like 25 of them. So that's a trend. That you talk about, okay, fine, a couple. All right, fine. Like Devontae Smith. Should he have run a better route? Should Kellen Moore have even called that play for Devontae Smith when that's more of a swole Batman route than it is a skinny Batman route? Yeah, sure. But who put the ball there? Jalen Hurts put the ball there. He put the ball there. Has Jalen Hurts made a habit out of interceptions? Jalen Hurts made a habit out of interceptions. So we're going to go through every one of them and be like, well, that wasn't his fault because of this. And this wasn't his fault because of that. No, we're going to be like, oh, this is a problem. There's a big question that's come out right now about the Philadelphia Eagles and identity. Philadelphia Eagles and identity. What's their identity? Here's something I've learned. And I learned, you know what I learned this? I learned this recently. I learned this with the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles. Because with the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles, I went, You know what I love about this team? They don't have an identity. Like normally, when people talk about an identity, they talk about, oh, this is a running team. This is a passing team. This is a great defensive team. It's a ground and pound team. The 2022 team made me not give a damn about what a team's identity is because there's only two identities that a football team has. This is what I've learned. They're a winner or they're a loser. They're a winner or they're a loser. Those are the only identities that matter. Oh, but are they running the ball and winning? They're a running team. That's their identity. Doesn't matter. One of the things I loved about that 2022 team is they could be like, what do we need to be today? All right, what do we need to be today? We need to be a running team, so let's run the football. What do we need to be? Oh, we need to throw the ball. We need to air the ball out. All right, we're going to be a throwing team. Ooh, this is going to be a really tough matchup today. We got to be a ground and pound team. We got to play tough defense and run the football. That's what I loved about it. They were a chameleon that year. I remember years ago, you guys know I'm a huge fan of comedy, and Steve, who was it? It was Steve Martin talking about being in a movie, Sergeant Bilko, a million years ago, with Dan Aykroyd and Phil Hartman. And Steve Martin was talking about how great these guys are at impressions. And Steve Martin's like, I'm not really an impressionist, but these guys, it's like their wives can be like, well, who do I want tonight? Like that kind of thing. And it's like those guys can do an impression to everybody. The Eagles can only do an impression of themselves. And right now, that team, you know what their identity, if you really want to struggle to find an identity for this team, you know what their identity is right now, unfortunately? When are they going to choke? When are they going to give the other team an opportunity? When are they going to give the other team an opportunity to take the game away from them? Eagles obviously allowed 24 points before they get first down in this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Eagles start to fight their way back into this game. They get a touchdown at the end of the first half. They come out. They all of a sudden make it a 30-16 game. They're driving. They're making things happen. And then what happens? Jalen Hurts coughs up the football. I remember last year watching the Eagles-Bills game. And that was the game that went into overtime, and Jalen Hurts won the game by scampering in on that 11-yard touchdown run in overtime. Jake Elliott hit the 50, I think it was a 58-yard field goal in the rain. You know what I mean? And I watched that. I'm like, that's incredible. What a great game. But I remember watching before the field goal, Josh Allen. And Josh Allen's turnovers have been terrible. And they had, I think, just changed their offensive coordinator, and Josh Allen was supposed to make this turnaround and all that stuff. And I remember in that fourth quarter, I remember going, we haven't gotten that Josh Allen interception yet. We haven't gotten that Josh Allen turnover yet. And I remember thinking about that. As I'm watching the Eagles in the third quarter, and I see the special teams block the point after, run it back, all the good juju's going, and the Eagles drive. Saquon Barkley, 59-yard touchdown run, or excuse me, 59-yard run, tush push touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 24-14. You're making a game out of this all of a sudden. Sure, you'll have the touchdown again to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but you blocked the point after. You got some good juju going. You're marching downfield again. Jalen Hurts, 19-yard line, fumble. As all the good things are happening for the Eagles, I was sitting there waiting for Jalen Hurts to turn the football over. Because I'm like, Jalen Hurts hasn't turned the football over. Oh, God, here we go. He's due. I thought crossed my mind, and I went, oh, he's due. This is fantastic. And then sure enough, on first down again, and I've made this point last week, and I'll be making it again probably for the next 2 weeks. But when I talk about Jalen Hurts' interceptions and Jalen Hurts' turnovers, first down. Or it's third down, third and long, you're in the red zone, and he's trying to force something in the end zone rather than taking the points. And I'm watching the drive happen. I'm just like, all right, just don't turn the football over. Just don't turn the football over. Just don't turn the football. Strip sack, fumble. Fumble lost. Mojo lost. Momentum lost. And I enjoy watching other quarterbacks and waiting for that moment. And if you're being objective, let's say you're not an Eagles fan, all right? If you watch the Cowboys, for instance, yeah, I went there immediately. Dak Prescott, I watched and go, oh, matter of time. Matter of time. Josh Allen, last year, matter of time. Something's going to happen here. Turn the football over. And that's what's happened. Derek Carr, I don't really have a lot of respect for as a quarterback. I felt like he wasn't going to win that one. And Reed Blankenship was certainly a man stepped up in that situation. But now I watch Jalen Hurts. Now I just wait for the turnover. That's where I'm at right now with Jalen Hurts. I wait for the turnover. And yeah, I'm hopeful, just as anybody who wants the Eagles to win football games, I'm hopeful that Jalen Hurts will come out of this bye week and hopefully he does something to clear his mind, hit the reset button, watch film. He was asked after the Bucs game about, hey, what are your plans for the bye week? He said he didn't know yet. What I would have liked to have heard in that situation, and that's fine, I'm not going to rip him for that answer, but what I would have liked to have heard is just like, get better at football. Come back better at football. Hopefully find some very difficult to find reset button and get back to the guy that I was in 2022. There's a question I've highlighted many times from Olivia Reiner of Inquirer.com, and it was a great question because last year we're listening to Brian Johnson, Sean Desai, Matt Patricia about mistakes. Talking about mistakes. Mistakes are going to get corrected. We're going to correct mistakes. The mistakes that we're making, we're going to stop making them. And we're going to right the ship. So Olivia Reiner finally asked the question. So you guys have been saying that for a while. How come they're not corrected? No answers. Nobody can answer the question because nobody has the answer to it. How's Jalen going to stop turning the football over? What do you think? Nick Sirianni all of a sudden is going to be honest with you? Here is so yesterday, Jimmy Kempski, Philly Voice, asked this question. I'll let you hear the tail end of it because I thought this was really interesting. The tail end of the question and then the answer. To set it up, the way this goes down is that Jimmy Kempski asked, in 2022, Jalen Hurts turned the football over per game. I think he averaged like 0.6 turnovers per game. I think that was the number. 0.6 turnovers per game. Obviously, since then, it hasn't been good. It's been bad. It's been really, really bad. He's up to 1.4 turnovers per game from last year and this year. So here's the way your boy, Nick Sirianni, answered the question about turnovers from Jalen Hurts.
What worked those 2 first years?
Yeah, good question. All
right, I'm going to stop it right there. I could be reading into this. But he's being asked a question about his quarterback turning the football over at an alarming rate and why his quarterback won't stop turning the football over at an alarming rate. He's being asked that question, and Nick Sirianni is like, yeah, good question. Now, you could take it as, oh, yeah, that's legitimate. That's a good question. Or you could take it as, yeah, good question. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, ask him what the hell his problem is because I don't know anymore. How do I think he took it? I'll say this. When I was watching the press conference yesterday, it raised my eyebrows that's how he started the answer. Here's how he went about it the rest of the way.
What worked those 2 first years?
Yeah, good question. It's a different product of different things that happen in the game, Again, it's never there's so many variables that play into it. Sometimes it's how you, right? Let's just talk about it from a quarterback standpoint. Sometimes it's how you carry the ball, right? When you're running, and it's carrying the ball when you're escaping. Then it's, the time to throw, deeper developing plays. Sometimes it's about the protection and having a hat for a hat. Sometimes it's about losing a one-on-one there. Again, it's going to always, sometimes it's about, the route detail and the route discipline and how that's affected, or, a missed throw or a misread. And the criticism is always going to go to him the most because he touches the ball the most, and he's always going to have more turnovers than everybody else on the team per se. Now, we've turned it over as a football team. Again, I go back to this. We've turned it over as a football team these past, again, this year is really all I'm focused about. And 23 more than we had in 21 and 22. And we're seeing the results of that. Like, as what I've told you guys, like, it's not sustainable winning games when you're turning the football over. Again, you win as a team, you lose as a team, you turn the ball over a team, you turn the ball over as a team, you protect the football as a team. And so, again, it's important that we all understand that, coaches, players, we're all in this together, because the only way to get the win-loss column fixed, the start of it, is the protection of the football.
Yeah. All right. Nobody else is turning the football over there, Nick. There's 5 turnovers for your quarterback. 5 turnovers for your quarterback. 24 turnovers over the last 2 seasons. And checks notes, you just finished week 4 of this year. I want Nick Sirianni to no longer be the head football coach of this team. I was really crossing my fingers. Although, talk about betting, it wasn't going to happen. Like, they weren't going to fire him. Like, Jeffrey Lurie has never done it. He's never. Like, Ray Rhodes made it. Andy Reid made it a number of times. Okay, Chip Kelly didn't coach the final game of his final year in Philadelphia with the Eagles. Okay, Doug Peterson obviously finished out the season. They're not firing after 4 weeks Nick Sirianni. If the leash is that short, then they shouldn't have even brought him back, obviously. And I was for not bringing him back. I also think that he is not going to get the best out of Jalen Hurts, and I don't think that he's going to do anything to help Jalen Hurts. And you know who really knows that? Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts knows that. Jalen Hurts has no confidence in Nick Sirianni. Jalen Hurts tolerates Nick Sirianni. Now, look, is that a good thing? No, obviously not. Should Jalen Hurts be like, hey, anybody that can help me, please help me? But you know who I think he knows can't help him? Nick Sirianni can't help him. I would love for Jalen Hurts to take ownership and just, not give the football away, make better throws, make better decisions. That would be nice. But I feel like the Eagles invited back a very bad ill will. I think they invited back ill will between their head coach and quarterback when they brought back Nick Sirianni. And I think you had to make a choice. And I don't think they were going to choose against their franchise quarterback, because that's what like it or not, that he's your franchise guy, at least right now. And you don't want to say that about a franchise quarterback, because when you're talking about a franchise quarterback, you want to talk about a guy that's going to be here for 10 years, 15 years, have the Jalen Hurts era in Philadelphia, You don't want it to fizzle out like Carson Wentz. And yeah, there are a lot of similarities, unfortunately. Turnovers, bad decision-making, hero ball. That's not great. And you're not going to get the best out of Jalen Hurts with Nick Sirianni as the head coach. Even with a healthy A.J. Brown, and even with a healthy Devontae Smith, and even with Lane Johnson, as good as I think those guys will be all together when they are all together, I don't think that that's going to be sustained success to the point of actually making it and winning a Super Bowl. Because look at all the things that have changed around Nick Sirianni since he's been here. Not just from his dwindling responsibility, as I referenced many times, but also the coaches around him. How do I know that all this wasn't Shane Steichen's success? How do I know that? We'll never know that. But here's what it looks like. It looks like it was all Shane Steichen's success. And Nick Sirianni now being more involved, at least that we know about him being more involved with every here and there calling a play. Like, no thanks. I'd rather you not. I'd rather you let that up to the guy that now being involved more in game planning. Rather not. I think that's kind of what got us here. And this isn't some vote of confidence for Kellen Moore, especially not after that last performance against the Bucs. Because as I said, last week was a measuring stick game against the Buccaneers. You got blown out against the Bucs in your last game of the season. Then your fourth game of this year, you get blown out against the Bucs. Oh my God. Why did this team make any changes? Bottom line is, I'll save this part of it because I want you to hear this last thing. So Brooke, I forget the gentleman's last name, but he asked this question, and the question's about discipline and accountability and how they went through the locker room after the Bucs game and this year's Bucs game, Sunday's Bucs game. And they went through the locker room and they said, all right, well, what do you guys need to do on stuff? And everybody to a man's like accountability, responsibility. We got to get better. We got to improve, hold ourselves accountable, because accountability is when you're accountable, it's accountability for yourself when you hold yourself accountable. Okay, great. So now Nick Sirianni is basically being asked a question about picking and choosing his spots to be a disciplinarian. Nick Sirianni disciplining players. When he picks and chooses his spots to do that. Here's Nick Sirianni on when he picks and chooses his spots to be a disciplinarian.
You're only getting Brooks, you're only getting a piece of what's going on, right? You're seeing what I'm telling you in these interactions. You're seeing what the players are telling you in these interactions, but we got a lot of time in there too where, you know, the mistakes are being corrected. We're going to take accountability first and foremost, because that's the only way you can continue to, but that doesn't mean as a coach that you're not, yes, as a coach, I'm going to go up there in front of the team first and foremost and say what I screwed up. But then I'm going to tell them what I feel like they screwed up, right? And I'm going to tell the coach, that's my job as the head coach. And I'm going to tell the coaches what I think they screwed, you know, the coaches before the players even get there, what I think they screwed up. And that's not an indictment on anybody. It's all in the attempts to get better. And so, again, accountability is key if you're going to fix mistakes, and you got to look at yourself first. But then as leaders on the football team, you got to point out what the mistakes are. That's my job as the head coach. That's the coordinator's jobs. That's the position coach's jobs. That's the leaders of our football team's jobs to point out the mistakes that are happening. So I do want you to see in public that it's only us taking accountability for ourselves and not pointing the finger at anybody else, because that's where it starts. And then what we do behind there's a lot that you don't see, obviously, behind closed doors of how we get things fixed.
You guys don't see the hard ass that I am behind the scenes. You guys don't see the tough guy that I am behind the scenes correcting these mistakes, because I don't know if you noticed the mistakes from last year, because I'm such a good disciplinarian and I hold players accountable so well. The mistakes we made last year, we're not making this year. Checks notes. Yes, you are. You're making those mistakes. 5 turnovers already for your quarterback this year. 4 interceptions for your quarterback already this year. Well on his way to over 15. That's not, or excuse me, on his way to over 15 interceptions. How many interceptions did he have last year? Oh, yeah, 15. We're still trending in. Yeah. I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan. I would love to see him correct these mistakes. I want Nick Sirianni to see the light and become a guy that can hold these guys accountable and get the best brand of football out of them. But I'm not seeing that. Like, overall, you want to talk about discipline? Like, yeah, okay, I understand. What do you get? Hey, take a lap. Like, no, this is the NFL. They're not doing that. I ultimately, the head coach has to be the pulse of the team. Like, everything has to stem from he has to be the foundation in which you build on. Is Nick Sirianni that guy? Can you honestly look at Nick Sirianni and go, oh, yeah, this guy's got this? Solid foundation. Like, even the players are built on top of that. I don't have any confidence. There's a lot of cracks in that foundation. And although you got some beautiful pieces of lumber being put on that, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, I think Jalen Hurts can still be a guy, can still be the guy. But this is what it's all stemming from this. No, thanks. And here's the thing. I've listened to players, especially after the Falcons loss, talk about how much they have confidence in their head coach and all that stuff. And I've heard from former players. J.C. Kelsey keeps on talking about how much Nick Sirianni runs a great meeting and all that. And I just saw Fletcher Cox put out there on social media that these, young team, it's a great time for this young team to have the bye week, kind of wrap their head around the moments that they're in. I have no doubt in my mind that he's talking about that defensive line in particular when it comes to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Like, all right, we had a 4-week test run. Unfortunately, it counted. We need to be better. How do we be better? How do we play more consistent? How do we play like we played against the New Orleans Saints? How do we do that? It doesn't feel like it's going to change as far as the dynamic goes between the head coach and the quarterback. It doesn't feel like the dynamic's really going to change between the head coach and the rest of this team, in all honesty. This is another variation of the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Sirianni as the head coach, with Nick Sirianni supposedly having to do less, but maybe now overemphasizing other roles that he has on the team that might make his message be worn thin a little faster. Ultimately, I mean, as they say, winning is a great deodorant. A.J. Brown comes back after the bye week. Devontae Smith comes back after the bye week. Lane Johnson. Hopefully all these guys are back and ready to play after the bye week. Ultimately, I think that offense, it's really going to be hard to screw that up on a consistent basis. You could certainly say that should stay in control earlier in the game against the Packers. We still put up 30-plus points. You didn't have A.J. Brown against the Falcons. You didn't have A.J. Brown against the Saints. You obviously didn't have A.J. Brown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My feeling on the rest of the season for the Eagles is that, and it all depends on staying healthy, and I hate going into that because it's football, and it's hard to stay healthy in a football season. But if you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and your offensive line is somewhat intact, I think you're going to win a lot of football games. Now, if your defense doesn't tackle, well, then that goes out the way. And this is not a yesterday I said this, and I'll reiterate it. The fact that the Eagles missed so many tackles gives me more confidence actually in the scheme. I shouldn't say confidence. It makes me feel a little bit, I don't feel as bad about the scheme as I do about the personnel. Because, like, yes, you as a coach, you have to be a disciplinarian, to use that word again. You have to make sure that your players are in the right position. Your players were in the right position to make a play a lot of the time, and they didn't make the play. Like, you schemed them to be in the right spot. They either got pushed aside by Mike Evans, CJ, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or they were right there to make the play and missed a tackle. Avonte Maddox, Reed Blankenship right there at the goal line, Nakobe Dean. Like, that many missed tackles. Guys were there to make plays. That's Vic Fangio's job. They were there to make a play. And they didn't make it. That's on the player. Now, unfortunately, Vic Fangio just can't look at the guy and go, and now, boom. Hold on, let me touch the mic. Now you're a tackler. Now you can tackle. Boom, you're a tackler now. These guys are professionals. They're supposed to be able to tackle. What are they going to? Was the hip drop throwing them off? They can't hip drop tackle anymore? I don't think it's that. This was a problem last year. It's a problem this year too. It ain't just Vic Fangio. Would I like him to be more aggressive? Absolutely. He's not excused because his guys can't tackle. I'm just saying, all right, if we're talking about scheme, it's like, put it this way. If Jalen Hurts was hitting guys in the hands consistently and those guys were just like, I don't know how to catch a football, and they kept on dropping the ball, I'd be less inclined to be pissed at Jalen Hurts and more pissed at his receivers. Vic Fangio has put these guys in the position to make a play, and they're not making the play. So in the scheme of blame, I'm more pissed at the players than I am at Vic Fangio. Either way, I mean, they got to correct this. They can't. I don't see the defense being that bad consistently. But when the offense is healthy, I do see them being a lot better. A lot better. Hopefully it's enough to overcome the horrible power structure that the Eagles have right now. One thing that Jalen Hurts did say that does make me a little bit more cautious is coming into the season when he was asked about what happened last year and how you put that behind you and all that. He talked about one of the things he learned, and he told this to Jason Kelce too. He reiterated it to Jason Kelce when Jason Kelce interviewed him ahead of the Monday night game. And he said, ultimately, what I learned from last year is you got to keep pushing forward, and that talent isn't enough. Just being talented is not enough to win in the NFL. You have to be a well-oiled, well-structured machine to win. That second part of it, my words. But that's what I take away from it. You can't just, we're good, we're going to win. Like your coach used to tell you when you played basketball, baseball, whatever you played, softball as a kid, you show, hey, you guys think you're good enough to just show up and win. You guys are not good enough to just show up and win. I've coached teams that were good enough to show up and win. You guys are not good enough to just show up. It takes effort, it takes playing together, it takes accountability. You know what's funny? I'm talking about my 8th grade head coach. All right, Al Mayo, what's up? Mike Carty, what's up? I'm talking about those. I'm talking about like that. And this is exactly how Nick Sirianni talks. He's talking about NFL players. Except I don't think he says I don't think you guys are good enough to show up. I think he says, you guys are great. Like, I think you're great. I think you guys do a great job. But do we have some things we have to correct? I think we have some things we got to correct. But you guys are great. That's more or less how it is. But you guys don't see the hard ass that I am behind the scenes. You guys don't see the hard ass I am. Anyway. That's the way I look at the Eagles. Let's knock off the turnovers, get healthy, and you'll probably be a better football team. Go figure. How does that work? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Before I go any further, I want to make sure I get this in. Do I have it? I don't have it. I have it. I'll get it for you guys. Your Philadelphia Phillies are now in waiting mode. That's what they're in right now. Here's the way it works out. The Braves and the Mets are now both in the postseason. Let me say this. I hate the Atlanta Braves. I hate the New York Mets. Still, screw the Mets. But I'm about to say something nice about the Braves. Hot damn. Hot damn. Now, Marcelo Ozuna has had a fantastic season. Austin Riley's done. They lose their MVP and Ronald Acuna. Ozzy Albies is gone for, 3 months? Whatever it was. Comes back at the end of the year. They get some pretty damn good pitching. Ronaldo Lopez gets banged up twice this season, I think it was. And they're a playoff team. They're taking on the San Diego Padres in the wild card round. The Mets, who, yeah, I agree. A lot of people wrote them off, myself included. They go to London and they played, they played the Phillies. And they reset their season coming back from London, and they're a 10 times better baseball team all of a sudden. And now they got the Brew Crew to face the wild card round. If you didn't follow that game yesterday, by the way, between the Mets and the Braves, the doubleheader that was pushed back to yesterday because of the hurricane. Holy Stromboli. I can't even recap it for you. It was so insane. But I had some running around to do, and I'm following it on my phone, and I'm like, holy God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I will say this, though. I did go back and watch the extended highlights. Can we stop with the Francisco Lindor Linsanity? Can we stop with that? Can that end? I feel like if I was a New York fan, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That'd be like having a second Macho Row. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. It's like when a lot of people some of the people refer to the Flyers as Broad Street bullies. I'm like, hold on a second. Let's like, I had a conversation with a Reds fan once, as appropriate with Pete Rose, with a Reds fan about the big red machine. And they were referring to like the Adam Dunn Reds as the big red machine. I'm like, do you hear yourself? Because that was like, I'm not even a Reds fan and I'm offended by that. But anyway, the Phillies now taking on the Reds, or excuse me, the Phillies now taking on either the Brewers or the Mets is going to be epic either way. You obviously have the storyline of Rhys Hoskins. If you ask me who I want, I don't want the Mets. I'm going to be honest with you. as much fun as that would be, especially fun for the Phillies to win, I just want the Phillies to win. That's all I want. So the Brewers and the Mets. Who do I want? I want the Brewers. I think the Phillies can beat the Brewers. I think the Phillies gave every ounce of confidence to the Mets when they lost 3 out of 4 at the end of the season. Now, granted, one of those games was Taijuan Walker, but you didn't split that series, folks. You lost 2 out of 3. Or excuse me, you lost 3 out of 4. So of the two, I want the Brewers. Bring on the Brewers. And you just lost 2 or 3 to them in Milwaukee. But I want the Brewers. As far as the rest of that goes, when you look at that schedule, Mets and Brewers, Braves, Padres, American League, KC and the Orioles, and then they've gone to face the Yankees, whoever wins that one. Tigers get into the playoffs. How about that? And then the Houston Astros take on the Tigers, and then the winner of that faces the Guardians in Cleveland. So that's how that one shapes out. I very much look forward to the Phillies getting underway. Enjoy the bye week, boys. Enjoy the bye week. I knew there was one more thing with the Eagles. Excuse me. I heard this after the game, and it raised my eyebrows. When the day after a game, and I think some of you know this already, and you might notice this. The day after a game, I like to talk about the game. If there's something like Isaiah Rodgers talking about something that happened within the game, then I'll play it because that obviously helps answer a question as to what the hell happened in the game. But the day after the game, I kind of then focus on, okay, well, why did everything take place the way it took place? So I didn't get into this yesterday, but I heard it, and I went, that's interesting. And that's after the game. Jalen Hurts is addressing the media, and he's being asked by Elliott Shore-Parks. The question is in here. I'll let you hear the whole thing. But I think it's a great insight into the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts.
Nick, Jalen, you and Nick are obviously big voices on the team as the head coach and the quarterback. As you enter the bye and you want to find an identity, do you two talk about maybe what you want the message to be to the team, or how you kind of want to handle as you guys go into the second part of the year?
We have our moments.
What's your plan?
So I heard that after the game, and I went, okay, that's a Tuesday conversation. And then I saw, I think it was Rex Ryan teed off on it on ESPN. And then driving around yesterday, I heard other people really getting into it. This is not a good relationship you have between your head coach and your quarterback, and we're just going to keep letting this go. Like when I say we're, I mean Jeffrey Lurie is just going to keep letting this go. You can't milk both cows, okay? You got to choose a cow. And if those cows aren't getting along, and that's going to lead to miscommunications, maybe messages not being delivered, or at least accepted and learned from, and eventually growing and getting better, well, then this can't go on. Like, do I think that the Eagles are going to make the playoffs? I do think the Eagles are going to make the playoffs. Do I think the Eagles are going to win a Super Bowl like this? Hell no. And this is what you welcomed back. Like, Jeffrey Lurie apparently has all these great feelings about Jalen Hurts. And I've told you guys many times, I don't think there's anything an owner has ever said that's more respectful and nice about an athlete than when Jeffrey Lurie talked about Jalen Hurts' phenomenal dedication to excellence. I was like, damn, this man loves Jalen Hurts. And you want to stick with Sirianni, a guy that I don't think there's any question. There's a huge disconnect there. And I do think that Jalen's too nice a guy to say anything negative, but it's really hard for him to not say anything negative. He's been teed up 2 separate times with a basic question of, hey, say, what's something nice about Nick Sirianni? One time he could barely even muster anything. And then the second time, which was last week, he was like, oh, that message, man, that message is great. It's got a great message, that guy. And that was also what he defaulted to after minicamp. And now he's asked about getting on the same page as his coach. Here it is one more time.
Nick, I'm sorry, Jalen, you and Nick are obviously big voices on the team as the head coach and the quarterback. As you enter the bye and you want to find an identity, do you two talk about maybe, what you want the message to be to the team or how you kind of want to handle, as you guys go into the second part of the year?
We have our moments.
What's your plan?
We have our moments. Not, oh, sure, Nick, and I, we sit down, we talk about what we need to do, and we need to get this done. And, head coach, quarterback, leaders of this team, voices carry the most weight, blah, 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 blah. Nope, we have our moments. What was the moment? Hey, Jalen, have a good week. Jalen, have a good bye week. Yeah, you too. Okay, bye. Love you. Say it back. All right, anyway. Yeah, it's not great. That's not great. It kind of makes me feel like, ugh. That's how it makes me feel. Hey, let me tell you about the amazing people at the Game Time app. Phillies games? Playoffs? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs, baby. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZI, and get $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, that applies to the playoffs. All right? Save yourself $20. Why don't you? With the Game Time app and promo code FARZI. Download the app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. How about Game Time Picks? The Game Time Picks feature on the Game Time app. You toggle that feature, and you can filter out all the fluff so you see exactly what you're buying at the best possible price. With Game Time Picks, it filters out all the fluff so you know you're getting the best seats at the best prices with Game Time Picks on the Game Time app. Also, how about this? The incredible, the amazing, all-in pricing feature so you don't get that sticker shock at checkout with the Game Time app. You see the price that you're paying ahead of time. Also, you can view your seat before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZI, and get $20 off your first purchase with the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. A little chill in the air in the Philadelphia area today. A little chill in the air. Wow. IBH, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Wayne the Pain. Hello, Wayne the Pain. Good morning. Eagles fan. Good morning. Sean Kilrain. Hello. Wayne the Pain. Farzi, can we finally get Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame now? No. In all honesty, do you really want I was thinking about it yesterday. That'd be a pretty crappy thing for baseball to do. Let's think about this. The rest of his life, he was like, nope, you're not going to the Hall of Fame. Nope, you're not going to the Hall of Fame. Nope, you're not going to the Hall of Fame. Oh, you're dead? Now you're going to the Hall of Fame. Like, it would be worse it would be a worse look for baseball if now they turned around, like if Manfred said, and on my way out, Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame. Like, go to hell. Like, he was either in while he was alive or he's not in. Like, don't try to write. Like, I could see maybe 50 years from now somebody doing it, but I think that'd be a pretty crappy thing for baseball to do. Like, we just wanted to make sure you could never enjoy the moment, Pete Rose. Like, no. Not happening. Again, if you missed the open of the show, I spoke glowingly of Pete Rose's baseball career, what he meant to the game, what he meant to Philadelphia. Oh, one thing I didn't say about Pete Rose. One of my favorite Pete Rose stories, my favorite Pete Rose story. And the name gets brought up a lot. Like, him and Moses Malone get brought up together a lot because, like, they were the difference makers, right? Like, Pete Rose had to step into the clubhouse with Mike Schmidt. And Mike Schmidt would be talking about, like, how he's going to face a hitter or a pitcher. And he's like, oh, this pitcher, he's got my number, blah, blah, blah. And Pete Rose had to be the guy to be like, you're Michael Jack freaking Schmidt, okay? Do you know how many pitchers poop their pants when you step into the batter's box? Like, have a little confidence, man. Like, having that guy to kind of be the reality check guy and also let you know that you're pretty damn good too, I think that made a huge difference. But anyway, Wayne the Pain, that's where I'm at on Pete Rose. And I was thinking about it from baseball's perspective. Because, like, look, I don't have a say. I don't have a vote. But I was thinking about it. Like, if I was baseball, do you let him in now? And I was like, no, you can't. Like, that's a terrible look. And I feel like it's just wrong to do that. Like, you were never allowed the moment. And now we're going to do it. I think that's pretty scummy. Mike Fuji, hello. Good morning, Mark and Web folks. Charlie Hustle played every game like Game 7. Yeah, 7th game of the World Series. Absolutely. IBH, great recollections this morning. Our youngest age memories are always the best. Dude, I would have been 18. Yeah, I would have been 18. I would have been 18 because I was a senior in high school. And that trade, I'll never forget it. Theo Ratliff I think he broke his wrist that year. Theo Ratliff doesn't break his wrist. They probably never make that trade. But Ratliff he was done. And you had a chance to go to the finals. God, that whole run was incredible. Yeah. That whole run was so much fun. But earlier that season, the Sixers beat the Lakers in Philly with Theo Ratliff. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this team, because they started out 10-0. They never looked back. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this team could win the title. This team could do it. And the Sixers played let me pull it up. The Sixers played the Lakers. They beat them in Philly on Valentine's Day, 112-97. They lost earlier that year in December, 96-85. But that February game in Philly, wow. Oh my God, I forgot Isaiah Ryder was on that team. On the Lakers team, I mean. Yeah, they beat him in Philly. Iverson, what did he drop that night? 40. He dropped 40 in that game. Holy Stromboli. Yeah. Ratliff didn't even play that game. Nazi Mohammed played that game. Kobe dropped 18. Shaq 29 and 11. Rick Fox. Ugh. Where's Robert Horry? Did he play in that game? He did. No points. Screw you, Big Shot Bob. Flipping off the crowd, whatever. But I just remember thinking, oh my God, the Sixers could do this. They could do this. And then the bottom line is they had to trade Theo Ratliff. They had to get a center, and they got a center, and they made it to the finals, and then they didn't. They didn't win. Oh, Philip Preston, give your thoughts on Darius Slay and Micah Parsons' podcast. Clowning. See, I haven't listened to that one yet. Oh, that's another thing. The social media stuff. Oh my God. Devin White, I don't know what's going on there, but I would think if he could help the Eagles win that he would be playing. It's just a really stupid situation that he's in. The Bryce Huff deleting Eagle stuff off of social media. Okay. Like that kind of goes hand in hand with how you play, invisible. Yeah, I think there's a lot of bad blood in that room. April, good morning. Feeling like putting Pete in the Hall of Fame now is one last. Oh, I agree. April, I agree. Wayne the Pain, Farzi, for you, what is the most frustrating thing about these Eagles right now? It's the turnovers. Turnovers are a killer. You can't, if you give the other team more opportunities, and first off, you take away the opportunity from yourself and you give it to the other team. That is the most frustrating thing. By far, that's the most frustrating thing. After that, if I had to rank them, I'd go turnovers, the quarterback head coach relationship, and missed tackles. Again, because the missed tackles to me are like, oh, look, good. You're there to make the play. Whoop, whiff. That is Very frustrating. Jason A., rest in peace, Mutombo and Pete Rose. Did anyone see who the third celebrity was yesterday? Usually in threes. I did not. Eric Wisniewski, what's going on, man? Hurts is continuing from last year. He's not playing like a franchise quarterback, not $51 million. Yeah, certainly I could agree with that. They're going to bring in Bill Belichick to be a consultant before the end of the season. Has that feeling to it. Devontae, I don't see Hurts changing, honestly. I really don't. I mean, that is a fear. That is a huge fear. Look, a lot of things, other than missing, the last 4 games of the season, 5 games of the season? Like Wentz in 2017. Unlike that, this is a lot like Carson Wentz. Again, the hero ball, the turnovers, and I'm one of the last people to say that. I know a lot of people have been jumping to that conclusion, but I'm not doing that. But I'm saying it now that it certainly has a lot of those reminders, unfortunately. QB, what's happening? Philly Fanatic 717. What's up, 717? Yesterday, I saw this post going around comparing Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. The stat lines are similar. So the argument they build is that Philadelphia media and fans. What? So they're saying that they're the same quarterback because of stats? Philly Fanatic, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I didn't see that. But here's speaking of things I've learned. This is I want you to say this with me now because this is not a quote. This is just, I believe, the best way to say something. Okay. Numbers never lie, but they sure as hell deceive. Okay. Numbers never lie, but they sure as hell deceive. Okay. Stats are a great measure for seeing what you do over a long period of time. Okay. Fine. And you need them. You have to have them. Okay. But just like you just heard Nick Sirianni talk about the different ways you can turn the football over, you need to know that. Like, for instance, if you see a quarterback has 3 interceptions, you go, oh, he's got 3 interceptions, okay? Then you watch the game, and you're like, okay, that was a drop in the wide receiver's hands that he flicked up into the air, and it went down into the hands of a defensive back, whatever. A fumble, a lost fumble. That was a bad snap. That wasn't even on the quarterback, but the quarterback gets charged for it. So, like, my point is that could be a really bad game, and that's an example of, oh, look, the stats are bad for the quarterback, but it wasn't his fault. But this, talking about 24 turnovers in the last 2 years, all that, there's one common denominator, and that's the quarterback. And if you want to compare Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, first off, how dare you? Second, do you watch a lot of football? And 3, when you watch them play, do you really say to yourself, oh, yeah, these guys are the same? Because I don't. Philly media is, 24 turnovers. That right there is not deceptive. That is 24 turnovers. One common denominator. The guy turning it over. Twiz, hello. Eric, hello. Mahomes has 3 Super. Oh, yeah. How about that stat? Robert M., thank you. All caps. Don't compare a Super Bowl champion to a guy that can't read a defense. April. Okay, here, I'll play it again just for anyone that might have missed it. How did you guys take this first part of the answer?
What worked those 2 first?
Again, Jimmy Kempsky is saying he didn't turn the ball over in 2022. Now he's turning the football over at an alarming rate. Why?
What worked those 2 first years?
Yeah, good question.
April, you and I are on the same page. But then again, we both went to Temple, so obviously we're brilliant human beings. Devontae, hello. Who's to say that even if Sirianni is fired by the end, and what will we get a new head coach, that Jalen will still have high turnover rate? Well, maybe a new coach will drill it into his head to not play hero ball, that on first down. And Jeff McClain actually asked this question yesterday. Jeff McClain in the Inquirer. So the situational football. What have I been screaming about? And it has to do with the turnovers, too. It's not all about the turnovers, but it has a lot to do with the turnovers. The thing that drives me absolutely banana sandwich about the Jalen Hurts turnovers is that so many of them come on first down when you have an opportunity to live and fight another day. Not even another day. The next play. So, for instance, he drops back at 19-yard line. They're finally coming back against the Buccaneers. Everything starts to go their way. Even the touchdown they allow, they have the point after return for 2 points, okay? Things are going in the Eagles' direction. On first down, Jalen Hurts is in a pocket with people swarming around him. Was it Levante David that got his hand in there? I think it was. You know you're in the phone booth. And he freaking 99-yard touchdown passes it like he's trying to throw a 99-yard touchdown. And get out of the pocket, man. Take a couple yards. First down. You're in field goal range. Not that you wanted a field goal at that point, okay? But just situational football. Third down, interception, middle of the end zone against the Falcons. You have the field goal. First down, red zone against the Packers in Brazil. Throws it in the middle of the end zone. Intercepted. What are we doing? What are we doing? Situational football here. I might have those downage reversed from Falcons and Packers. But anyway, last year, 8:15 to go against Seattle Seahawks. Fourth quarter, you're up 4 points. First and 10. You air it out down the middle of the field to Quez Watkins. You have a running back, I think it was Gainwell, right there at the line of scrimmage. First down, you're looking to kill clock. Looking to have a nice long drive. Oh, there's the guy down there. Oh, intercepted. Shucks. Busy. What's happening? Welcome to the chat. Nick Sirianni sounds so stupid when he opens his mouth. Just a bunch of BS. Yeah, pretty much. Anybody comparing Jalen Hurts to Carson Wentz is a moron. I have more faith in my quarterback, even if you don't. Go Birds. Well, Philip, I maintain this. Here's the deal. Right now, you can't deny that these seem like very similar. No, excuse me. You can't deny these are very similar scenarios. Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Now, to your second part of this point, I have more confidence Jalen Hurts will get out of this than I did that Carson Wentz will get out of this. Or I have more confidence that Jalen Hurts will get out of it than I did that Carson Wentz would get out of his funk. And it turns out it wasn't just a funk, it was him playing football. And that's the way he's going to play. But it's going to be really difficult, I think, for Jalen Hurts to do this with Nick Sirianni still having any fingerprint on this. And that's why I'd love to see the Eagles make a change. I doubt it's going to happen in season, but the Eagles need to make that change. For them to win a Super Bowl, I think they have to make that change. Jason, I can't even watch his press conferences anymore. They make me sick. Charles Day. That's right. John Ashton from, you know what else he was in? He was in Little Big League. Beverly Hills Cop movies, Little Big League. He was like the assistant manager or the bench coach. All right, Billy, give me this. What would you do in this situation? Oh, great movie. Phenomenal movie. If you were a kid and you watched that movie, you didn't think you would be a big league manager? Come on. John Silverman, I believe it was, as a pitcher. He was a pitcher in that. Yeah. Did Ken Griffey Jr. make an appearance in that? He did make an appearance in that. Wow, what a film. A Bill Haywood. All right, anyway. Babs! Hello, Babs. Since Hurts has been the quarterback, the Eagles have run college, high school offense built on quarterback runs and broken plays because he can't play from under center, drop back, read defenses, and throw downfield. There's been a lot of those. I don't know. I got a higher opinion than a lot of people on Jalen Hurts, because I have seen him drop back, thread the needle. But don't get me wrong. His bread and butter, Babs, I agree. His bread and butter has been the broken play. So in a situation where you're being stormed and you got pressure and you're in a really tight window, maybe escape the pocket and get to your bread and butter that you're pointing out, Babs. Philip Preston, look at the third string wide receivers Jalen Hurts had to play. Okay, stop it. All right. The turnovers didn't just happen against the Bucks. Again, we're talking about 24 turnovers over the last 2 seasons, and it's week 4 of this season. Okay? So he's had A.J. Brown. He's had Devontae Smith. He's had Dallas Goedert that, for whatever damn reason, they don't want to get involved in the game plan until they're forced to. And now he's got Saquon Barkley to throw in the mix too. This isn't a new occurrence. Oh, Eric, Doug was the right coach for Jalen? Maybe. Woody Buzz, Nick sucks. Hilarious. Darius needs to exit stage left due to certified clown people. Yeah. Doug's not working out so well in Jacksonville right now. Brian. Hey, Brian. Farzi, hear me out on this. You think Hurts is playing horrible to set up Nick to get canned? I don't. Don't get me wrong. It's totally crossed my mind. Conspiracy, sabotage Nick. But ultimately, this is also Jalen Hurts' ass on the line. And it's not just Jalen Hurts' ass on the – like, if you're going to tank to get a head coach fired, then you're killing everybody in that locker room. Like, is Devontae Maddox missing tackles to get Fangio fired? Is Nakobe Dean missing tackles to get Fangio fired? Like, to me, I just don't think they do that. I think these guys want to win for each other. I think that's really the only motivation they have right now. Sean Kilray, Devontae Maddox doesn't deserve to be on the field, period. He's undersized and can't cover, in my opinion, Farzi. You agree? He is undersized, and that's why I was looking forward to him being more of a deep man safety than an in-the-box or slot safety or corner. But it hasn't worked out. It has not worked out. I agree. Philip Preston, all right, y'all can bash the offense all you want. The real problem is Fangio's defense secondary. Keep rushing for knowing that it won't work. Oh, hold on a second. Let's not act like there's one problem on this team right now. Let's not do that. There are many problems on this team, and that's one of them too. Tate, too easy to use the insanity definition. What with the turnovers? Clairvoyant, hey, do me a favor. Everyone, let's get rid of the CEO thing, please. I've been begging for this since last year. The CEO head coach thing. Oh, well, Nick Sirianni, now that he's the CEO head coach. What? Like, John Harbaugh, CEO head coach. Not calling plays, he's a CEO type guy. That's the guy I think about when I think talking about CEO. Success, multiple different quarterbacks, multiple different coordinators. John Harbaugh, CEO, he's got a good plan in place. Nick Sirianni, I'm being kind. I'll say regional manager, head coach. Okay? Guidance counselor comes to mind. That's it. CEO, let's stop with the CEO head coach, please. Thank you. Oop, here we go. We got a record. 8-9 Eagles go, says Eric. Philip Preston, Seth Jones tackling is a mindset, and I believe it. Oh, I agree that you're going to just knock somebody over. But like, it really, I don't know, it just drives me freaking crazy. That they're there to make the play and they don't make the play. They leave their feet. Like, a lot of it's technique too. Like, here's the thing. Situationally, like, Avonte Maddox has to know that you can't just dive at a guy and try to like throw shoulder into him and have the big hit or whatever. Like, if you're going up against a running back, for instance, and you're Avonte Maddox, just try to wrap them up and then let everybody else get to them. Like, that's if you're not going to wrap them up and take them down, wrap them up, slow them down, let everybody else get there. But when you leave your feet, all a guy's got to do is step aside. The other one that really drives me crazy, I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll mention it again. The one that really drives me crazy was from Reed Blankenship. It was the fourth touchdown, I think it was a third touchdown by the Bucs. Baker Mayfield keeper, 1 yard line. Reed Blankenship is there to make the hit on 4th and goal from the 1. And he dives at his ankles. And Baker Mayfield's like, thanks. Lean forward, touchdown. Jack Dwight, Hurts needs to buy a personality. I'm going to be honest, I don't care anymore. I just want him to win football games and stop turning the football over. He could be as entertaining as grass growing. And I just start winning football games, stop turning the football over. The crypto, what's going on? If they can just let Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, coordinate the offense, I guess. I think Kellen Moore knows how to coach up Hurts. I hope so, but this last game was not a showing of that. He had an opportunity to be a difference, and he wasn't a difference. Fangio sitting down equals classic dad noise. He's a total dad. I didn't see that. Chris Long made a $25,000 donation to help Western North Carolina. That's awesome. I've said this before. One of my favorite, if not my favorite athletes to ever cover in Philadelphia was Chris Long. Uh, 76ers media day yesterday. I referenced what Joel Embiid said. My stance on their media day yesterday is, for the most part, I don't care. I don't care about anything the Sixers have to say, other than the Dikembe Mutombo tribute that I referenced earlier in the show from Joel Embiid. The Sixers, for me, are a show-me team. I am so sick of believing again and putting the clown makeup on when it comes to this team. So sick of it. Joel Embiid's got to stay healthy. I love Paul. Don't get me wrong. I love the roster. But there's nothing they can say that's going to make me go, oh, okay, maybe it's different this year. I know Tyrese Maxey's great. I love him. I know Joel Embiid's great. I love him. I hope he stays healthy. Paul George, and I've said before, Joel Embiid staying healthy is the greatest and biggest if in all of sports, not just Philadelphia, in all of sports. Because if he stays healthy, they win a championship. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered, parade down Broad Street. Biggest if in sports. Wait, what? Mutombo earned the right? Are you saying Mutombo? Oh, never mind. Forget you saw that. Hurts just Tyron Taylor with cool. What? Oh, with cool quotes? I wouldn't go that far. That Greg 75. Hello. Welcome to the party, pal. KJ Wentz didn't even turn over that much. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Cherry Blossom, Brian Johnson flourishing. Yeah, how about that? That's fun. That's fun. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Whoa, I'm going way over today. But you know what? That's fine with me. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Don't forget about our wonderful friends at the incredible Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. And how about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow to talk about the Eagles, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Catch you guys tomorrow.